You're watching K-drama again. You know none of it is real. You have always known. You're not a girl with a crush. You have watched the credits roll 1,000 times. And it changed what you want anyway. Knowing never protected you. It told you 3 things to wait for. And real men keep failing a test you do not even know you're giving them. So what happens to a woman who knows better and is moved anyway for 20 years? I can tell you because I was inside the machine that made him. I stood on a stage. I had a small part in the drama. I know the writers who built him. I know exactly how we got to you. Even when you knew it, it was fake. Promise one. He knows what you feel before you say it. In the drama, you never have to explain yourself. You are standing on a bridge at night, cold, not crying yet. He's already there. You felt that something was wrong. He drove across the city because he knew. You have watched 100 men now. Not one of them was ever told. They just knew. That is the first promise. A man who reads you, a man who arrives before you ask. Or it is smaller than the bridge. You said once, back in episode 3, that you hate the smell of lilies. 40 minutes later, he hands you a different flower and says nothing about it. And you ache because he remembered. A man who listens that closely. A man who keeps a file of you in his head and never lets you catch him reading it. Here is what was actually happening on the other side of the camera. 3 months before that scene, a writer sat in a room and wrote down exactly what you would feel watching it. Then she wrote a man who answers that feeling perfectly. The lily was not him remembering. It was a note on a board, put there by a woman you will never see. So it would pay off 40 minutes later to the second. He is not reading the woman. He is reading the room she will be watched in. I have stood close enough to watch that knowing get built, take after take. A proposal scene, outdoors, a snow machine, fake breath, real cold that gets into everyone's bag by take 6. I watched the director stop the lid and say, "Do not look like you are figuring her out. Look like you already know." So he looked like he already knew. He had no idea what she felt. The actress across from him was checking her phone between takes because she had a flight. He did it 11 times. Then everyone broke for lunch. I have done my own version of it on a stage, looking out at 10,000 people like I knew every one of them. I knew none of them. I hit my mark, found the light, and got paid. Now watch what that promise did to your real life. There is a man near you. He is not a villain. He brought you the wrong coffee this morning. He forgot something last spring. Last week, he asked you what was wrong. A plain, decent question. And something in you dropped because he had to ask. The screen man never had to ask. He had the notes. Your real man has only you, in real time, with nothing written down. So you handed him back his own honesty, like it was proof he does not love you enough. He is not failing you. He just never got the notes. Nobody gets the notes. There are no notes. And it runs the other way too. You have rehearsed the conversation with a man in your head, given him the right lines, pictured exactly how he would answer. Then the real one happened, and he was clumsy and slow and human, and you felt let down before he finished his first sentence. You wrote him a script. He never got a copy. He was never going to match the man you already ran the scene with at 2 a.m. That man does not exist either. You built him out of 100 takes someone else perfected first. And you are not the only one waiting for a man who can read minds in the dark. Last year, people gave 7.7 billion hours to this man on one app alone. That is almost 1 million years of human life in 6 months, spent waiting to be understood without having to speak. None of it was your fault. You were handed a man who could read you like a page, then dropped back into a world where no one can. That is promise 1. Before I get to the second promise, I have to tell you something, because it's the reason I make this at all. After a show once, a woman waited almost 2 hours by a stage door to talk to me. She was not young. She told me, with her whole face open, that watching men like me had carried her through the loneliest years of her life. I said thank you. I meant it. And on the drive home, I felt sick because I knew what I had actually sold her. I had not carried her through anything. I had helped hand her a man to measure her real life against. Her real life had been losing to that man ever since. I'm not telling you this to feel guilty in front of you. I'm telling you so you know I'm not standing above this. I built the trap and I fell for the people caught in it. Both things are true. Promise 2. He will choose you over everything. You know this one without me describing it. He has the company, the family name, the mother who already chose his wife on paper. And he walks away from all of it for her. The ordinary one, the one with nothing to bring to the family. He stands in front of his father and says it out loud. I choose her. You have waited your whole life to be chosen like that, out loud, against everything, by someone who had everything to lose. Here is the problem with that promise. In Korea, a man does not belong to himself. He belongs to the line. His job, his mother, his family name, the son he has not had yet. All of it is already sitting at the table before you walk in the door. A Korean man choosing a woman over his family is not a love story. It is the one thing the whole system was built to make impossible. So the drama sells you the single act that real Korean life forbids. That is why it hits you like air after holding your breath. It is the thing nobody around him is allowed to do. Let me tell you about a man I watched try the rare version. 2 years ago, a friend of mine brought a woman into a dinner. She was not Korean. She laughed too loud for the room, and he loved her for it. You could see it on his face. He told 3 of us, quietly, that he was going to marry her. Then his mother met her. There was no fight. Nobody raised a voice. His mother just went quiet and started mentioning other women, gently. A co-worker's daughter, a nice girl from church, one more name at every meal. 6 weeks later, he stopped answering the woman's messages. He did not break up with her. He just went somewhere she could not follow, without moving an inch. He told me it was bad timing. It is never timing. He chose the table. They almost always choose the table. And the worst part is, they tell themselves they had no choice, so they never even have to feel like cowards. I have watched 4 different men do a version of that. Different women, same quiet. The mother never has to say no. She just waits and mentions names and lets the silence do the work. It is the most polite violence I know. This did not start with him. It is older than him by 100 years. Korean stories have sold impossible love for over a century. Before the cameras, there were the old stage melodramas. Lovers torn apart by family, by money, by rank, always reaching, never touching. Then came the real losses, a country occupied. Then a war that cut it in half and left millions of people with someone on the other side of a line they could never cross again. For decades after, old men and women lined up at a fence, holding a photograph of a brother or husband allowed to wave for a few minutes as someone they would never touch again. That is not a metaphor. That happened, and some of them are still waiting. A whole nation got very good at feeling one thing, longing for what you cannot have. There is a Korean word for that ache, han, the grief that never resolves and never quite lives. So Korea did not invent the heartbreak story. Korea industrialized it because Korea had a century of raw material. That feeling at the end of every drama where they almost make it and the music swells and your chest goes tight. That is not an accident. That is 100 years of practice aimed straight at you. You can hear it in the songs too. Korean love songs do not celebrate having someone. They mourn almost having them. A whole pop industry built on the second before goodbye. You have a playlist full of it, and you do not even speak the language. That is how good the practice got. And before you envy the young Korean woman in that story, do not. She is waiting to be chosen by the same man who is not allowed to choose her either. She is ranked, measured, and told to wait harder than you ever were. She has a list in someone's head of everything she has done since she was 18. She is sitting in the same waiting room. She just walked in younger, with more rocks in her bag. And you know this feeling too, even if you never went near Korea. Somewhere in your life there was a man who did not fight for you, who let you go quietly the moment it got hard, who chose the easier table. You have carried that as proof there was something in you, not quite worth fighting for. There was not. He was just never built to choose. Most of them are not. So here is what Promise 2 actually did. You are now waiting to be chosen. You are waiting to be chosen by men who were never allowed to choose. The drama gave you the one Korean man who breaks the rule and pays for it gladly. There is exactly one of him. He does not have an address. He lives on a server, and he resets every time you press play. There is a third promise. It is the cruelest one. It is the reason you are not going to turn this off. The first two are about what he does for you. The third is about what he sees. When he looks at her, he sees all of it. The mess, the fear, the parts she keeps hidden. And he does not look away. He stays. That is the one you would hand the other two back to keep. To be seen all the way down and wanted anyway. I'm going to take that promise apart too. And I'm going to tell you exactly where the man is looking when he looks at her like she's the only person alive. It's not at her. But first I have to tell you about one night. The night I finally understood what we had been selling you. It is not what you think. It is worse. And strangely, it is the only part of all of this that might set you free. Stay with me. The night I am talking about, I came home at 3 in the morning, straight from a set. I had a small part, a few lines. Mostly I stood in the background while the leads shot the scene where she learns he is dying. And she holds him, and he tells her it was all worth it. The actress cried. Half the crew went quiet. The lights were warm on the back of everyone's neck. Then a man called cut. The leads went to their trailers, and I drove home alone. I sat on the floor in the dark, still in the cheap suit from wardrobe. And I finally saw the thing I had been doing for years without a name for it. I thought I had been selling women a perfect man. I was wrong. Picture the shot from above. The camera is not on the man at all. It is on her face. The whole scene is built so you do not watch the man. You watch the woman being looked at. That is the product, not the man. Her face in that light finally being seen. You were never buying him. You were buying her. The woman someone cannot look away from. You wanted to be the face in that light. That is the third promise. And it did the most damage. Because it is the one you needed most. And before I take it apart, I have to be straight with you about one thing the screen could never fake. There is exactly one. It is small, and it is the whole way out. And I'm going to hand it to you at the very end. Watch for it. Promise 3. He sees all of you, and he stays. You know the look. I do not have to describe it, but I will. She is a mess. She has pushed everyone away. She is sure she is too much, or not enough, or both at once. And he looks at her, slowly, like he can see every part of it. The things she hides, the things she hates. And he does not flinch. Nobody in your real life has ever held that look for longer than a second. It says, I see the real you, and I am still here. That is the deepest thing a human being can want, to be known all the way down and kept anyway. The drama did not promise you a boyfriend. It promised you a witness. Think about how rare that actually is in a real life. Most people go years without anyone seeing the whole of them. Your friends see the part you show them. Your family still sees the child you used to be. Work sees the role you play there. The screen walks straight up to the one window nobody else fills, and it filled it with a man reading cue cards. Of course you went back. Of course you watched it again. You were not weak. You were hungry for the one thing almost nobody gets, and someone was handing it out for free, on demand, in subtitles. And it is not only the big sins, it is the small ones. She says the ugly thing, the thing she has never told anyone. And he does not freeze. He does not change the subject. He just nods, slowly, like it makes him love her more. When was the last time you told a real man something true, and watched his face go blank because he had no idea what to do with it? That blank face is not him failing you. That is what a real person looks like when they are actually hearing you, with no script telling them how to react. You read the blank as rejection. It was just a human being, caught off guard, trying. So let me tell you where the man is looking. In the exact moment he gives her that look, he is not looking at her. On the floor, just outside the frame, there is a strip of white tape, or a small mark on a stand, or the lens of the camera itself. The actor is told to put his eyes there, an inch or two of her face, because that is the only angle where the light fills his eyes and makes them look like they are drowning in her. I have watched it done 1,000 times, and I have done it myself from a stage. You fix your gaze on a mark, you think about nothing in particular, and a room full of people feels seen. Let me tell you how the scene actually gets made. A focus puller crouches by the lens with a tape measure, because if the actor leans 2 centimeters the wrong way, the eyes go soft and the shot is dead. The director says reset. You walk back to your mark, you do the look again. By the 20th take, you are not feeling a thing. You are cold, your jaw aches, you are wondering if catering still has coffee. And on take 23, with your head completely empty, you give the most loving look of your career at a strip of tape. And everyone says perfect. That is the take that ends up on your screen at 1 a.m. The empty one. The one where the man felt nothing at all. The deepest look you have ever ached for was a man staring at the floor so the lighting would land. He was not seeing her. He could not see her. She was lit from the side, and he was hitting a mark, and he had a sandwich waiting. Go back tonight and watch the eyes in your favorite scene. Once you know, you cannot stop seeing it. He is looking slightly past her. Every single time, the one thing you wanted most to be seen is the one thing on that screen that was never happening at all. And I'll be honest, because I have asked you to be. I helped sell this, and it still got me too. There are nights I'm sitting across from someone real, tired, ordinary, no music anywhere, and some trained part of me is still waiting for the lit version. The perfect angle, the swell that never comes. I have to put it down too. Every day, knowing how the trick works does not turn it off. It just lets you catch yourself reaching for the fake one and choose the real one instead. Now, let me show you what is actually waiting on the other side of the fantasy. Few years ago, I stood in a wedding hall in Daegu, a real one. There were 8 weddings in that one building, one starting every hour. Do the math, 8 an hour, all weekend long. That one building marries more couples in a single Saturday than some whole towns manage in a year. You pay at a desk in the lobby. You eat at a buffet down the hall. Many of the guests leave before the vows because they came to drop off an envelope, not to watch. The ceremony ran 25 minutes. A host with a microphone moved it along like a train conductor. There was a fake snow machine in the corner. Nobody filled it, so it coughed twice and quit. Nobody cried. It was a weekday. Everyone had work in the morning, and the doors opened, and the staff started flipping the chairs for the next one. That is the marriage. The snow in the drama was the advertisement. This building is the product. I am not telling you Korean marriage is loveless. Plenty of it is good and quiet and real. I am telling you the gap between the snow and the buffet is the exact gap you have been falling into for 20 years. Because somewhere back there, a real man looked at you across a kitchen, tired, with no music playing, and he saw you. Not all the way down, just the part he could reach that day, and it was not enough, because you had seen the other look, the complete one, the lit one. So you let him go, or you stayed and quietly held it against him. There was probably a specific one, a few years back. It was not exciting. He fixed the thing in your kitchen before you asked. He remembered you take your tea without sugar. He looked at you plainly, like you were a person and not a scene. You told your friends there was no spark. The spark is a lighting setup. It costs a fortune a day, and it does not survive contact with a real Tuesday. It was not boring. It was unlit. There is a difference, and the screen spent 20 years making sure you could not see it. And I'm not trying to make you sad here. I'm trying to give you the years back. Because the cruelest part of waiting for the look is that it never feels like waiting. It feels like having standards. It feels like self-respect. You're not being picky. You're comparing every rear breathing man to a man who was looking at the floor and calling the gap your taste. That is not taste. That is a wound the screen gave you and then told you to be proud of. You did not turn down a rear man. You turned him down for a man who was looking at tape. And before you decide this is a Korean problem, it is not. Korea just built the machine first and built it best because it had 100 years of practice in longing. But look at your own screen now. The reels, the edited couples, the 30-second clips of someone's husband doing one perfect thing in a kitchen. You are being trained again in your own language, in your own country. The same promise, faster, with better cameras and worse intentions. Korea is not the disease. Korea is the early case, far enough away that you can finally see the shape of it. The rules you fell for in a Korean drama are walking into your living room right now, dressed as your friends' relationships and the couples you follow. You did not call it K-drama. You called it goals. So, here is what I understood on the floor that night, still in the wardrobe suit. It is worse than you feared. It's also the way out. The screen man was never going to see you. Not because you fell short, because no one was home behind the look. He was staring at tape. Now, the one thing the screen can never fake, the thing I told you to watch for, it cannot be surprised by you. Every look on the screen was written before you sat down. The man already knew the ending. Nothing you do can move him, because he is finished. He is a recording. A real man does not know the ending. He can be surprised. He can be changed by something you say tonight that no writer saw coming. That is the one thing. The screen man is perfect and finished. The real one is clumsy and still being written by you in real time. You cannot surprise a recording. You spent 20 years aching to be seen by men who could not be moved an inch. So put it down. Not the dream, just the recording. And let the clumsy one be surprised by you. The real question is not whether the man on the screen was real. The real question is who you stopped letting see you while you waited for a man who was looking at the floor. Answer that one in the comments. Tell me about the real one you almost let in, or the one you did. I will leave you with one picture. It is not a man in the rain. It is a kitchen. On an ordinary night, with the overhead light on, which is the least flattering light there is. A real person is sitting across from you. They got something wrong today. They do not know what you feel unless you say it. So say the things you have never said. The ugly one, the true one, and watch their face move. Watch them get surprised. The screen man never could. He already knew the ending. That flicker on the real face, the one you cannot script, is the only proof of love there ever was. You were always the one who could see. You just spent 20 years pointed at a recording. Stay real, because that's what I crave. This is Sibon Records. See you in the next videos.